Thank you for those that said that you could hear us. We appreciate it. Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Rule. I'm the principal here at Kelly, and I'm with a group of outstanding teachers and our guidance counselor, Mrs. Molyneux. We want to try and take this opportunity to give you an overview of our eSchool program. We have a little slideshow to share with you, and then we will go through and answer some questions at the end. I would ask all the participants to wait in terms of submitting any questions to see maybe your questions will get answered in the presentation tonight. So if you can just hold off until we're done with our presentation, and then we will use the question and answer or Q&A down at the bottom of your screen. That's where we will submit questions. But we hope to be able to cover most of the things you may be thinking about. And this presentation is being recorded, so we will be able to post it on the district website for any families who may not be able to join us tonight. So before we get started with the presentation, I would like to introduce our eSchool teachers and our guidance counselor. They'll just say hello briefly. So I'll start with Ms. Linda Ricco.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Ms. Linda Ricco, third grade teacher for the eSchool.
And Ms. Amy Matakaitis.
Hi, I'm Amy Matakaitis. I'll be teaching first grade this year.
And Mrs. Tara Miller.
Hi, as Mr. Wool said, I'm Tara Miller and I will be the second grade e-teacher. Looking forward to working with everybody.
Kelly Molyneux, our school counselor.
Hi everyone, I am Kelly's school counselor and I'm also classified as the institution administrator for eSchool this year.
And Mrs. Courtney Jameson.
Hi everyone, I'm Courtney Jameson and I'm the kindergarten eSchool teacher.
All right, so what I'm going to try to do is share my screen right now, and we'll go through the slideshow that we have. Again, we'll leave plenty of time at the end for questions that you may have. So let's go ahead here. And hopefully everybody can see my screen right now. Teachers who are here with me, can you see my screen all right? Okay, outstanding. So, okay, I'm going to advance it so we were able to introduce the other members of our eSchool team here with you. And we'll switch on here to the logging on portion. And who's going to take that first?
That's me.
Mrs. Molyneux, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, so I'm going to go over just some login information for you. The first and most important thing that everyone should have received, because all of our eSchool students do have accounts, when their account was created, you should have received an email from Genius SIS. This email would include your parent credentials, so your username, your login, and also your student's username and login. Sometimes these emails like to hide in your junk mail or your spam, so if you haven't received that yet, I would advise you to check there. But if it's not in your junk email, please reach out to me as soon as possible. We did have some families who didn't receive them, and that's fine because I also have access to that information. So if you didn't get it, I can certainly help you with that. Just let me know. If you did receive your credentials, you would log in and access your student's schedule by following the directions. There should be a link in that email that was sent to you. The website is caiu.geniussis.com. That's where you would go to sign in to access your student's schedule. Once you're in, you can access the courses. Make sure you log in as your student, and then the courses are there. You can click on the links and they open tomorrow. The Genius SIS LMS is a single sign-on where you can access your courses as well. Once you are logged on, there is a button on the lower left-hand corner that says Take Me to Genius SIS LMS, and that will forward you to Accelerate Ed, where you can also see your child's coursework. Accelerate Education is the courseware provider that we use for K through 3, and that is also where your student is going to access their courses and complete them in the lesson portals. So if at any time you forget your password, you have the ability to reset your password on your own. But if that doesn't work, or if it's giving you trouble, I also have access to that on my end. So if at any time you're having trouble with your login information, please reach out to me and I can reset that for you as well. And we can troubleshoot together if it's not working. So for those of you who are joining us, thank you so much. You are well on your way to kind of understanding some of the verbiage that we're using and the process for getting logged on and seeing your child's courses tomorrow. Your students' teachers will also be sending out Zoom invites to do their face-to-face instruction with you and hold class meetings. And if you have your iPads, you can be logging onto those and getting familiar with that technology piece as well. So on the next slide are just some visuals for you to see like what you can expect when you log on. Okay, so we have the initial login page for you in the lower right-hand corner. This is where you'll put in your credentials, and also you can put in your students' credentials to get to their coursework. And then we have the initial Accelerate home screen in the top right corner. This is where you can access your child's course cards, and then they open to show you what the coursework is, and that's what that big box on the left is.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to tell you about what it's like to be a learning coach. I know that you already wear a lot of hats as a mom or a dad or a sibling or a partner, but now you're a learning coach. So that is you for the most part. A learning coach oversees lessons, and they are going to work with their kiddo to lead the discussion about learning, navigate the technology for them, especially, of course, with kindergarten and first grade, create a schedule and a learning environment for that child, help with the pacing, which we'll talk about a little later, and communicate with the teacher. So I think that all of the Kelly eTeachers already sent you a little overview from YouTube. So you can kind of check that out about a learning coach for more information. But also there will be information on a resource page for you at the end of this later. So we wanted to tell you a little bit about how you can get help, so you can go there for help. And also, we really wanted to explain to you that we are here to add to eSchool and keep your child connected to their peers and keep them connected to a teacher. So we just want to really complement Accelerate Ed and address like the academic and the social needs for your kiddo. We plan to have a lot of fun on our Zooms and really keep them connected and have them feel like they're at school in addition to the work that they're doing with Accelerate Ed. Thank you.
All right, so I know a lot of you have been wondering what the schedule is going to look like for eSchool. It's going to look a little bit different for all grade levels, but the basic meat of it is going to be the same. There are two components. There is the term you've heard, asynchronous, which is the work that you're going to be doing with your student on your own. Maybe you work and you'll be doing it in the evenings. Maybe great grandma or someone is watching your kids during the day, so you're going to be doing a lot of schoolwork on the weekends. That's all up to you guys when you do it. There is kind of a prescribed pace with how many lessons you should be completing in a day. Everyone should be working in English language arts, which is the ELA, math, social studies, and science. You can see on your screen that there's some times that it says that it should take. Some of you might have really quick workers, so maybe your math lesson won't quite take that long. Some of you might have kiddos that need a little extra help focusing or just work at a slower pace, so it could take a little bit longer, and each lesson is different. So that's something that you guys will kind of work through on your own. If you have questions about anything, we are here to help you, give you some strategies and that sort of thing. The other side of eSchool is the school day. A lot of parents requested having Lewisburg teachers for eSchool. So what we want to do is try to give your child as close to a real in-person school experience as possible. So we're all going to be starting our days with daily class meetings. That's going to be kind of like a morning meeting calendar time. It'll look different at each grade level. And some of us, I think a lot of us are splitting it up. So instead of having 32 kids in one Zoom, we're doing a few smaller ones. You'll also be having small groups where your teacher will be working on writing or small reading groups or math groups. And then we will have individual check-ins too, check-ins with your kiddo, check-ins with you, and just see how things are going and how we can help you. At the bottom of the screen, there's a suggested schedule, but again, you can make it work for your family, and just kind of do what you can and let us help you in any way we can. The in-person Zoom meetings that we're talking about, the class meetings and the small groups, they are not mandatory, but they are highly encouraged because we will be supplementing what we're learning in our lessons and doing like more specific tie-ins to the actual Lewisburg curriculum.
Hi, everyone. I'm doing the materials page. So how would you access workbook pages in the curriculum? Workbooks will be provided for each subject area. So ELA, the English Language Arts, the math, the science, and the social studies. Teachers will be in contact with pickup times when they are available. So please note, they will no longer be mailed to your home, but they are also available throughout the course as a PDF on Accelerate Ed. So what materials do you need? Well, this is a suggested list. You need colored pencils, crayons, and markers, some glue and some tape, scissors, notebooks, paper, highlighters, pencils, and a ruler. So please let your child's teacher know if you need help getting these supplies. Please do not purchase any additional items you may find without checking with your child's teacher first. There may be additional times throughout the school year where the teachers can send home additional materials. So guess what? We'll all be in touch with you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to try and take care of everything else. I know that won't include everything, but we really tried to put our brains together and come up with what might be most important to you as families, what your burning questions are, and just some items that as an E-team we felt were important for our families to hear across the kindergarten through third grade. So the first point we wanted to make was that all of the meetings with our teachers will take place via Zoom. I'm sure you're very familiar with that by now. If not, we'll help you out. Those will take place during the normal school day. So when your teachers are emailing you Zoom links, you can expect them to happen sometime between 9 and 3:30. While students are able to work through the course on their own, we are encouraging our families to follow the prescribed pacing of the lessons. As you log in and become familiar with using Accelerate, you'll become familiar with how to navigate the folders and open different activities, but we're trying to keep lessons accessible in 2-week increments. That way, when we do meet with your students during these synchronous Zoom meetings, we can supplement what they're actually working on, and then your student doesn't feel lost because they're working somewhere else, and we're trying to add to something that they're doing in a week they may have already done before. That being said, feel free to contact your teacher anytime via email. We will typically reply during school hours, just so you are aware, but we understand that families have different schedules. As Mrs. Jameson had said, perhaps you're waiting until after work to complete the coursework, or maybe you have to save it for a different time. Just so you're aware, if you don't receive a response immediately, we do reply during the school hours. Students will still receive the Kelly Elementary report card. Those of you who have received that before, you'll get that. There are some items on that may look a little different, but we are trying to keep students as connected as possible to Kelly. And one of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to use the same report card. And then you will also have a grade book on Accelerate where you can also view your students' progress. You'll be able to see their grades on certain assignments and then overall how they're doing in each course. Another thing about schedules is that our eSchool will follow the same district calendar. For example, yesterday was Labor Day. There were no Zoom meetings. The district was on vacation, so you can follow a similar schedule as maybe students who are in school or neighbors or things like that. Just to reiterate, kindergarten will begin their meetings tomorrow. That's September 9th. And then 1st through 3rd grade will begin meeting Thursday, September 10th. Not 9th like I told all of my families today. So just to iterate that, 1st through 3rd, Thursday the 10th, and kindergarten tomorrow. The attendance, as Mrs. Jameson also said, those meetings aren't mandatory. They're very highly encouraged, again, to keep that connection and to keep your students with their peers and the social aspect and working with a teacher. So how we will be looking at attendance for students, it will be assessed on a weekly basis. That allows your family time to work through the assignments, to get to the meetings, and we'll look at the students' progress in completing assignments. And again, that may look different for each family. That's why we look at the weekly completion versus a day-by-day pacing. We do have videos of distance learning live streams that are property of the district. For example, those Zoom meetings that you'll be having with your grade level teacher, and therefore those should not be recorded. If you have questions about missing meetings or things like that, we would encourage you to reach out to your child's teacher, and we can definitely help you get caught up that way. And then last but not least, we have some links provided by teachers. Some are doing it through Seesaw, some have emailed it to you, but please don't ever hesitate to reach out if you need more explanation with things like getting started, overviews, accessing different features in the system. Again, everyone has kind of done what works best for their grade level in sending that information out, but you're always welcome to contact any of us with your additional questions. This is a big new adventure for all of us, and please know that we're here to help you in any way that we possibly can. And we're very excited to be working with your students this year.
Okay, thank you very much, teachers. At this time, I think I'm going to stop sharing the screen because that was the PowerPoint presentation. There is a spot on your Zoom screen that says Q&A, question and answer, and that's where if there's additional questions that that our participants may have, we would ask you to put those questions in there at this time. We will work through those as quickly as we can, and hopefully be able to address all of them here today. So if you would like, you can insert some of the questions in the question and answer, and then we will go through and attempt to address those together. So I will take a couple of these questions, and then maybe some of our panelists would also be able to answer some of them. So one person asked, will teachers be having one-on-one student time? If so, are we able to give input on the time that works best? Is there anybody who might want to answer that?
I think if there was a specific time that worked best, I would contact your child's teacher. I know in 2nd grade, we are going to try and for the one-on-one allow parents to sign up, but with different grade levels and different schedules, if that's something you're concerned about, just reach out to your teacher and make them aware of times that work best for you.
The next person asked, we checked logins today and we do not have the Seesaw app on our iPads.
I can take that one. So we are working with our tech department to get the Seesaw app on our iPads. Once that's done, we may need to switch the iPads. So I sincerely apologize. We weren't aware that they hadn't uploaded to the iPads yet, but you will receive iPads with the Seesaw app once that step has been completed. That being said, the iPads can still be used to complete coursework. When you log into Accelerate Ed, whatever coursework you complete is saved in the portal. So no worries about switching your child's iPad after they've started coursework because that will be saved.
I did see that somebody had thrown up a question. I don't know if they were aware, but iPads are available. We have some families who have devices at home, and they've opted to not pick up an iPad from school. But yes, we absolutely have iPads available for you with chargers. So you can reach out to Mrs. Molyneux if you are in that situation, and we can arrange to have one for you. We're hoping we can get some clarification and maybe get Seesaw just pushed out remotely. But if we do need to update those, we will send out some information to you about that. Please, instead of using the chat, if we can use the question and answer so we can have all the questions contained there, please. Next parent asked, if we have multiple children in different grades, can they each use the same Zoom account, or will they need different logins? I'm thinking of times when they are in a live Zoom simultaneously. Anyone else like to try to take that?
So we have to send you an invitation for the Zoom. So that would look different from different teachers. It'll still be your Zoom account, but I think that they could do that through their iPad, and they'll have different devices. But different teachers will be holding meetings at different times, but we'll work together and work with you so that your child doesn't have to be, in two places at the same time, of course. Just reach out to your child's teacher and watch for that invitation. Again, like Tara said, we can email you the invitation like we did in this case. And then later when Seesaw is up and running, we can use that as a communication device and also put the Zoom invitation on that as well.
Next person had a question, how many students are there in eSchool per grade level? Mrs. Molyneux, I don't know if you want to address the total number.
I can give a rough estimate. We do have between 140 and 150 students enrolled in eSchool, grades K to 3, and each grade level has between 30 and 40 students. The numbers are ever changing. They continue to grow, but the last time I checked, that was how many students we had enrolled.
Again, I think we addressed Seesaw. There's a process to push out the Seesaw app onto the iPad, so we're still working through that process. A person had asked, how do we get workbooks if school starts tomorrow?
So workbooks are being made from the CSIU, and they will be delivered to Kelly Elementary School. And as an eSchool team, we're going to plan like a drop-off day where you come and pick up supplies, and you're just going to drive through, kind of like parent pickup, and tell us what you need, what grade your kids are in, and we'll deliver it to your car. We don't know exactly when they'll be coming, but it will hopefully be soon. And we'll hopefully try to switch out iPads then and give you some other materials too, so that way you aren't having to use all your own paper and kid writing books and that sort of thing.
So workbooks are also available through Accelerate for the time being. We do apologize for the lag, or the CSIU is trying to get them to us as quickly as possible. But in the meantime, they are available as PDFs through Accelerate. And speaking for the team, I know none of us will hold it against any of you for not having a workbook page. It's not your fault that the workbooks aren't here yet, but they will be. And if you really want your kiddo to be able to access, they are available online through Accelerate.
We are all going on this journey together, and it's going to be, there are going to be some bumps early on in the road, and sometimes we've got to rely on some other vendors to provide us with some resources and materials. But again, please be patient. None of the teachers are going to hold it against students if there's a little bit of lag time. But I think once we get it up and running, we're going to have a pretty smooth operation going forward. Someone had asked, how long do you expect Zoom meetings to be? Is there somebody who wants to give an estimate of that?
So each grade level is going to look a little different, but you can expect probably whole group Zoom meetings to be maybe 20 minutes to a half hour. Small groups will be, depending on what you're doing, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and then individual check-ins will be about 10 minutes. And I did see there was the one about an EPIC code. You can contact your child's teacher and they'll let you know what the EPIC code is.
I'm sorry, I missed that one. So another person asked, are the kids going to be using school provided iPads or laptops from home? So again, Accelerate Ed is a web-based program. So it's not, you do not have to have a school-based iPad. But we do have those available for those families who need those. If we find that as we're working through, it's best for if you did not opt to have an iPad, one will be available for you, even if you ask to have one a week or so into the program. We do have enough iPads for all of our Kelly students, K through 3, available. So it's not a problem to get you an iPad even at a later time. Will the kids be participating in Super Kids? Somebody want to take that one?
For kindergarten. So my plan for kindergarten is we'll be learning the letters through Accelerate Ed in a different order than we do with Super Kids. But every time a Super Kid letter is introduced, I plan on introducing the Super Kid, going through the songs, going through what they like. So that way when students do come back to in-person learning, they are familiar with them and they can jump right in with everyone else.
I did see a parent's question about whether or not a tablet would work for Accelerate Ed, and it was shared with me that tablets are the only device that the program doesn't work through. So if you have a PC or your own iPad or laptop, you can use those, but the tablets, for whatever reason, don't really cooperate. So if you need an iPad for your child, please reach out to me and I'm happy to get one to you.
The next question is asking, how will we be handling anything extra like music or gym?
I can take that one. So there are elective courses that your children will be enrolled in. We're going to be doing art for the first semester for all kids K through 3. However, we're not able to enroll your children in those courses yet because there's a lapse in time between when our teachers show up in the system and when we can enroll their courses. So I'm keeping a very close eye on that. And as soon as I see our teachers come up for art, I will enroll all of our kids K through 3 for that.
As of now on the Genius, it says my child is not enrolled in any active courses. Is this normal for now?
We're hopeful everything will be up tomorrow. So please check it again tomorrow. That was the start date.
Are we able to use Seesaw on a desktop computer? Yes, has been the answer.
We're all saying we really hope so. Yes, we think so. Yes, it's new to us, and we're very excited about it. We'll roll this out slowly with you, and we're learning this at the same time. We just had training, and I think you're going to really like it as a parent.
And Seesaw is web-based. I know some of you who have tried to use it through the internet on your iPad, you're getting a message that says you can't. That's just because you're on an iPad. But if you use your own computer, it is web-based, so you should be able to.
If we're using our own hardware, how do we obtain the apps needed to access the course materials? And again, Accelerate Ed is web-based. So again, you wouldn't need a specific app to be able to access that. You'd be using a normal browser. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to that?
I notice it's one of my family members, but anything that we use in second grade would be for accessible. It wouldn't necessarily have to be on a school issued iPad. They are looking into Seesaw. I know that has been an issue, but I think we've addressed that. Anything else you should be able to access through your own device if you're using one.
Well, all the apps that teachers plan to use work across all devices, laptops, Chromebooks, Android, etc. I think you guys kind of touched on that before. Again, with Accelerate Ed being web-based, Again, we're trying as much as we can to use web-based apps, or I'm sorry, web-based programs, so that you don't necessarily need to have whatever specific device would be. We did say that the tablets, there are some issues with just using a regular old tablet. But Accelerated Ed is designed to be used in a variety of settings on a variety of devices. So not all school districts have Macintosh Apple devices like we do here in Lewisburg. So yes, I would expect that it can be used on a variety of laptops, Chromebooks, etc. And again, I think the curriculum, will work on a computer, so it doesn't necessarily need to have a touchpad. We cannot access the courses in Accelerated Ed yet. It's giving us a message that you're not enrolled. And again, we answered that. Please check back in tomorrow. The start date was scheduled to be tomorrow. How do we sign up for special classes like gym, art, etc.? So what the district has done is for the first marking period, they've assigned students to a type of an art special. So in kindergarten, it looks a little bit different. It's arts and crafts, I think it's called. And then I think it's just called art in first, second, and third. There is I don't know if the right word's a journal or a log for physical education activity, but not a specific curriculum. Again, your classroom teachers can share some more specifics with you about that. If we're into the second semester, I believe there is a health elective that is going to be offered as well. We have another family member who is also a learning coach. Should we provide that person's email address to the teacher for Zoom meetings? Somebody want to take that?
I got it. So yes, any parent email that you want to have information sent to, please send that to your teacher. I think most of us are planning on sending out the Zoom links through Seesaw once that's up and running, so that way it will go right to the child's device or to their account. So you won't really need a parent login. But yes, anything that you want sent, I would just say send that email to your teacher, please.
So somebody asked a question about Seesaw. What is the app? So Seesaw is a learning platform. So it's a way for teachers to be able to share out information for students to complete work remotely. Accelerate Ed is its own curriculum and has its own lessons that are built into it. Seesaw is more what the teachers may be using on occasion to supplement that curriculum. So you can use both of those platforms. They're pretty easy to use. And yes, you can use it from your own devices. So should each child get a Zoom account, not Genius account, but Zoom account rather than using a parent's work Zoom account? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I think it's kind of going to be up to your discretion in terms of how you want to set that up. Maybe it has more to do with if you need to be on at work, and if your child's also on Zooming, you might want to have a separate account. I'm sorry?
I was going to say if I can add something.
Sure.
I would add though, if one of your students is using a parent's work account, please make sure that the username is something that is recognizable for the teacher. For privacy and security reasons, if we can't decipher who's trying to log in, out of the concern for the students, we won't let you in if we can't tell who you are. If you don't have a way, if you need to send us a private email and say this is my name, that's fine. But we do need to be able to recognize you, please.
I see that there may be some people, I see there's one person with a raised hand. Again, please submit any of your questions through the Q&A portion of it. That's the way that we're taking questions today, so we can be as efficient as possible. I think we addressed that Seesaw is in the process of being installed, or we will reach out to you if we need to address that by perhaps if we do need to change out iPads. We talked a little bit about specials already, explained what Seesaw is being used for. Will students be able to borrow books from the school library, perhaps a random selection put together by the teacher every couple weeks? I can take a wing at it if somebody else doesn't have any thoughts on that. Okay, so I know in talking to Mrs. Hornberger, our school librarian, we did talk about scenarios, like especially if the school went to a full remote situation of what we would do. And I would ask that our eSchool teachers will work with Mrs. Hornberger to kind of figure out what we can do to supplement, household libraries. Again, you may have some books in the home, but your children may have read through many of them and you're looking for some other titles. So we want to try and be as flexible as we can. Maybe we can utilize that pickup time that we've set up for some other resources and be able to work with you regarding accessing our school library as well. We certainly want books in the hands of kids. My daughter needs login information and coursework assigned. Nothing can be seen in Genius. As we said, please check back tomorrow with that. Will internet be discounted for the families that aren't able to work while children at home? I'm not sure if I understand that question. So if you're talking about time to complete assignments, that's one of the nice things about being an asynchronous platform, is that if you're not able to have your children work during the day and you can work in the evening or on the weekend, parents and families have options to be able to work with that. And so again, just work with your classroom teacher around any of those issues. We will be looking at attendance and progress on a weekly basis because we understand for some families the time that's available at home may look different in each household.
So, Mr. Rule,
yes,
if I can just jump in really quick. I also want to make parents aware that we do also have hotspots available to assign to families because so many people are going to be using this system. Internet can be a little slow, so if you are in need of a hotspot for your home, just email me and I can assign one for you. And I do see the next question is, should we pick up the iPad tomorrow? If your child is in kindergarten, I can tell you that all of those iPads did get the Seesaw app today. So if your child is a kindergartner and their iPad is ready, you can certainly pick it up tomorrow. It will be ready. And then hopping down to the next question, the courses on Accelerate, are they supposed to be active now? The start date is tomorrow, so if you try to log on tomorrow, the courses should be active.
I think I missed a question about being able to access your students' attendance. So not necessarily per se, because attendance is, we're basically counting children as present unless progress is not being made on those academic goals. So again, if a child's falling behind, or let's say they're not logging in to complete work, the teacher's going to reach out to you directly and kind of try to understand what's going on, if we can help, if you're having connectivity issues, or if there's something else that's going on. If after we reach out through the teacher, the guidance counselor, or myself, if we're not getting those issues resolved and it would result in, let's say, a marked absence, you would get a letter informing you of that. But there is not specific access to attendance, just like there is not for students that attend during the regular school day. Is there anything anybody else would like to add about that? Okay. Parent asks, will our students be able to participate in Scholastic book orders? The book fair is going to be virtual this year. So when the PSA sends out that information, they will send that out to all parents, even eSchool parents as well. And you'll have the opportunity to browse the virtual book fair online and be able to make orders that way. How about loading Seesaw on my iPhone? Again, I'm not sure about that. It is web-based, so you could use a browser on your phone. I'm not sure. What's that? You can download the Seesaw app on your iPhone, according to Mrs. Jameson. Thank you. When I do the homework on the tablet as the teacher, we'll see. When I do the homework on the tablet, the teacher, will they see what works? I'm not sure. Does somebody else understand that question?
So as you work through the coursework on Accelerated Ed, there will be things that the computer grades by itself. So like for kindergarten example, there's a counting activity and they'll show you 5 balls and your child has to press the number 5. So you'll get immediate feedback on how your child did on that. Some of the assignments you do have to upload and turn into the teacher, and then we will grade that and give you the give you how your child did on it. And you should also be able to log into Accelerated Ed and see what assignments your child's completed, what assignments maybe are late that they need to catch up on, and check their grade book.
A person asked, can you explain how to log into Accelerate Ed again? Trying to get the workbook. Mrs. Jameson's going to make a screencast, and we'll send that out and share with you a little later on. Unfortunately, I don't have the presentation open right now.
Can I add something?
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things you'll notice as you're working through Accelerate is that the workbook pages come up in different assignments. So when you log into Accelerate, you won't see a separate folder just labeled Workbook. Instead, a workbook page will appear in Accelerate as an activity. So as you're progressing through the course, when you see those yellow buttons called activity, those are the workbook pages.
There's some questions that people are asking about what's the latest time families can switch to in-person instruction. Will there be a window of time later this fall to make a switch? What's the process like if we decide to opt out of eSchool and choose in-person after the 2 weeks? Mrs. Molliner, do you want me to kind of give a little overview of that process, or do you want to take it?
We can both talk about it. There is a 2-week window starting tomorrow because the courses do become active tomorrow. So as of tomorrow, there's a 2-week window, and it's 2 weeks in calendar days, not school days, that you can play around with Accelerate Ed and determine whether or not it's a good fit for your student. During that time, if you feel like switching to in-person is a better option for you, what we would need you to do is email both Mr. Rule and myself so that I can go into the system and drop your child's courses, and then Mr. Rule can place them in a homeroom if you think that in-person is a better fit.
Yeah, and I understand these are very complicated decisions, and every parent and every family member is just trying to make the best choice that they can. You know, if it's past the 2-week window or in the middle of a marking period, you know, from a grading standpoint, and because we are going between the Accelerate Ed and going back into a school-based program, you know, it's best to make those switches at a marking period timeline. You know, but we certainly will work with you where we're able to with those kinds of transitions. It may take us a few days to be able to unenroll you from the program and then assign you to another classroom. We may have to bring in an additional desk into the classroom. Right now, we don't have extra desks and tables, so we are spreading out in the classrooms as much as we're able to. So again, that may take us a day or two to get you assigned to another class, but we'll get your child back into school as soon as possible if that pops up. Anybody else have anything that they'd like to share about that? Okay. Again, I think we've gone over, there's not a specific cutoff date. Again, we'd like you to try to evaluate after the first 2 weeks, and if you make the decision to come back sooner would be probably better in terms of having the child acclimate back into school and not to miss more of the Kelly School curriculum as well. If you make that decision earlier would probably be better. And let's see here, I think we've touched on that. Seesaw accessible via PC or Mac? Yes, it is.
Someone asked about 2 kids on at the same time.
Oh, 2 kids will be on Zoom sometimes at the same time that I need to sign in for work. How can we make this work? Does anybody have anything that they wanted to add there?
Please reach out to your child's teacher. We'll work with you to try to give you a better time, at least so the kids aren't at the same time. I don't know about your work schedule, but we'll try and do everything we can to make it work for you.
During the spring Zoom, teachers sent specific Zoom requests for kids. Can this be done now as well so they can log in from their laptops or iPads?
So I'm not exactly sure, but I think that that goes to this question from before, hopefully, that we will email you the Zoom invitation. And then later when we're all up and running with Seesaw, we could also send it to you that way. But just like we sent you this one tonight, we can do it that way. In the past, it has been recommended that you not send a Zoom too far in advance, but we are also working on doing those as recurring. So if you had the same meeting every day, you should have the same invitation. So we'll work with you on that too.
So a person had asked the question if they have a child who's in the gifted program, will the kids still have a meeting or class? Mr. Kishel is our new gifted teacher this year. He will be reaching out to you to set up times to be able to Zoom in with the other kids in the gifted class when possible, but he certainly wants to include you in the gifted programming. So Mr. Kishel, again, will be reaching out to you to make those arrangements in the future. Will our kids be able to get and or be in the yearbook? Yes, so when it's picture time and those kinds of things, we will send out information to families for our eSchool families to be able to come in and have their pictures taken. And also, we'll work with the PSA to make sure that those students are added in the yearbook. There will be, at different times of the year, there will be some time restraints because we do have to let the yearbook know by a certain time when we have changes. So let's say that if late in the year a family decided to go from eSchool to come back to face-to-face, there could be some time limitations in terms of when the student might be listed in the yearbook as assigned to an eSchool classroom versus a regular homeroom. But we'll work with the PSA on what that would look like and encourage you as eSchool parents to work with the PSA and give some input so we can customize the yearbook. So we include as many kids as we can, including our eSchool students. Is Seesaw available on iPhone? Yes. I think we touched about that. How much time is spent in front of the screen watching lessons or completing work in kindergarten?
So it really does depend on your child and how they go through the work. Accelerated Ed says anywhere from like 3.5 to 4.5 hours is what is expected per day for kids to be involved in their learning. Not all of that will necessarily be sitting in front of the screen, but some pencil and paper lessons and that sort of thing too. So I would bet on 3.5 to 4 hours and then kind of see how it goes from there. I do want to just comment too, if you go into the chat, which I know we're not supposed to be using, but it's the only way I could get it out to all of you. I did put a link to a YouTube thing that I made that shows you how to log in to Accelerate Ed.
Thanks.
You know, just going back on the question about screen time for kids, obviously we're well aware that we don't want kids spending large amounts of time on screens, but you know, to go through the curriculum that we have, this is the module, and I would encourage you to, as parents, to really monitor that. And because it is asynchronous, you have some flexibility in how you chunk that time. And just to monitor that and sort of set up that work that they're going to be doing through Accelerate Ed, you know, at a pace that you feel is appropriate at home. So you might end up spreading things out a little more across the day instead of spending large chunks of time where the child's just on the screen. And again, work with your teachers around some of those challenges that you may encounter. I think we talked a little bit about school pictures. We don't. You will be included, and we will share information out with you. We'll work through our eSchool teachers to share that out. Somebody was asking, how do I install Seesaw on the iPad? Yeah, I think we talked about that. Seesaw is available through a browser, but you can also download it onto the iPad as well. Again, work with your classroom teacher with some of those questions. How do you get homework on the tablet? I don't know if anybody wants to address that. I think you're just gonna work directly with, again, tablets are not something that we're recommending that you use if you're referring to an iPad as a tablet. yes, you would maybe are they referring to the homework worksheets or the workbooks?
I can share that too.
So,
Assuming you're asking about homework in and of itself, and ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think, because of the amount of work already embedded in Accelerate, most of us are not planning on assigning additional homework on top of your student working at home all day. There may be activities that we feel your student may enjoy, or if they need more practice or more of a challenge, we may send a specific activity. But if I'm understanding the correction correctly, there won't be additional homework in addition to the Accelerate curriculum.
Again, I think we mentioned, please check back in with the Genius platform tomorrow. And if you don't see all of your children listed in that platform, you can reach back out to Mrs. Molyneux about that, and she can try and troubleshoot that with you.
I did write myself a note to double check if any of you indicated that your child isn't coming up. So I will be doing that in the meantime as well.
Thank you, Mrs. Molyneux. So a person asked a question. So if the district goes all remote, will all students be using the same program, even the ones who are enrolled in in-person school? So the thing you've got to keep in mind is that if we go to all remote, it could be a brief period of time that we are all remote, a series of days or a week or a couple weeks, or it could be a longer period of time. It kind of depends upon why we're going to a remote situation. So right now, if the students in eSchool would continue in eSchool, even if we went to all remote for in-person students, because the students who are in person, they will be continuing with the district curriculum that they're receiving face-to-face, also utilizing Seesaw if we went to all remote. Because again, there are two different curriculums. You've got the Accelerate Ed curriculum, and then you have our school district curriculum. They are aligned to the same Pennsylvania standards, but they are a different curriculum. So, again, our in-person students would be continuing to work in the curriculum that they have been working in, and the eSchool students would continue to work in the Accelerate Ed curriculum for consistency purposes. Anybody have anything else? Or think I answered that okay? All right. Yes, you can create free Zoom accounts. It is free. Will my child be able to go back to in-person learning next school year without any setbacks? Again, this is one of the important reasons to work very closely with your classroom teacher on the progress that your child is making. I will be honest with you. I mean, I think that, we all would like our children to be able to learn in person. Students who learn in an e-learning fashion, younger kids do sometimes struggle to adjust to that because they don't have the same early literacy skills and learning skills, and learn better from face-to-face instruction. But it's an adjustment that I think we're all making in this time. Obviously, you as parents and family members have thought long and hard about this. And I would encourage you to work with those classroom teachers for additional support if your child is struggling, so that we can try and help provide those resources so that they can catch back up if they are struggling a little bit as we're going along. Is there anything else anybody else wants to share about that? What happens if a significant amount of students decide to switch back to in-person next week in regards to the assigned LASD teachers? Is there a possibility that we could lose the LASD assigned teacher? So it's very difficult to talk in those hypotheticals because right now we do have so many students who have opted. Even today, we've had a fair number of families who have decided the day before the school year is going to begin to go to eSchool. It would be our hope to maintain as much consistency as we could. So it's hard for me to say exactly what that situation would play out, but we would be losing an awful lot of students. And I do think that, at this point, we plan to keep our eSchool teachers as long as possible, continuing to work with students. That's my best answer I can give at this time. Will weekly attendance be calculated at the end of the business day Friday or another routine day in the event that we intend to use weekends or sometime to check on schoolwork. So when we say a week, we are thinking about looking across 7 full days. So, from my standpoint, although we haven't set a hard and fast standard with this, I would generally think, Monday to Monday and kind of see how the student did across those 7 days. And when we say attendance, again, children are being given credit for attending school each day. So it's not a situation where if your child's not feeling well on a given day and can't join in for a specific, maybe a class meeting or something like that, it's fine for you to communicate out with your teacher about that, but it's not something you need to call the school about. We're not taking a daily attendance for eSchool because it is asynchronous, and we do realize families have different situations. So, it's going to be one of those situations where everybody's going to be given credit for attendance unless we're falling behind or a child's not logging in on a consistent basis, and then there may be a day of absence that's recorded. But you would be informed if that would happen. Okay. Am I able to disable blind? I know you have to work and be involved in my kid's activities. How would I be able to help him more?
I think. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I would probably say to reach out to your classroom teacher so they can try and work with you directly on how you can support your child. Okay, child has a speech and learning problem. How does special education work? I guess I would say if your child is already identified as having an IEP, our special education teachers would be reaching out to you, including our speech teacher as well. If you do have concerns that you think your child has some learning needs, we would want you to work through your classroom teacher and Mrs. Molyneux to discuss what those concerns are, and we would follow our normal process that we have. Mrs. Molyneux, anything else you'd like to add about that?
No, the only thing I would say is if a student has already identified their case managers, whether it's speech or learning support or gifted, should be reaching out to families in the next week, I would say, in the days following, to set up appointments for those kiddos to come in and get some extra support. I know that's something that's in the works, so if they haven't reached out to you yet, they should be.
There was a question on when we pick up worksheets and the like from school, will there be an option for curbside pickup? Yes, it will be curbside pickup rather than families having to come into the school. So we would prefer that it's picked up in that way. We also understand that there could be some limitations with your schedule where you may need to plan to come in and pick something up from the office, but as much as possible, we would really like you to pick those up curbside. Person asked, does an eSchool student get lunch? So I know the district is working through a process to take a look at any student who might qualify for a free or reduced lunch, and what may be the process for being able to have those picked up. At this time, I have not heard from Mr. Oswald, our cafeteria coordinator, but I know that that is something that's been discussed at the admin level, and we will get information out to you as soon as we can if you have a child who qualified for a free or reduced lunch. Okay. I think we did pretty well. We're sitting here at 7:28 right now. So you all asked amazing questions, and I hope we were able to answer them to the best of our ability. If you have further questions, please reach out to your classroom teacher. And again, we'll be responsive and get back to you as quickly as we can. Again, this is a process that we're all going through together. I understand that some of you might be more comfortable in an online learning world than others. Even some of our teachers may be more comfortable than others in it. But we're all going to get really good at it very fast. And we are very happy to have our Kelly teachers part of the eSchool program, and we know that's going to be best for kids, and we're very excited about having your children continue in, even if it's a virtual social world, we want to continue to keep them engaged with their peers and with their classmates as well. So at this time, I'm going to conclude tonight's meeting. Thank you all for coming out and meeting with us. I'm not sure when this will be posted online, but I'll work with Dr. Fairchild in our central office to post it as soon as possible. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening, everybody.